Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on the cove detail that's going to be mounted to the underside of the lid. So what you're looking at now is the actual cover plate that's going to be the outside of the box. On the other side of this plate is the engraving that I did a couple of videos ago, and this cove molding is going to wrap around three edges of that plate. This cove detail is going to be supported by three strips that are going to be mounted directly to this cover plate. Here I'm only showing the front plate and one of the side plates for clarity, but there are three plates that wrap around. You can see the holes on the other side of the cover plate. The corners are being held together with a simple finger joint. Once I fit everything together, I'm just going to be riveting over the fingers that are protruding off of each side of that joint. It's a pretty crude looking joint, but it's going to be totally covered by the cove detail. So the only rivet head that I really need to file away is the top one, where it's going to be interfering with the cove molding fitting flush up against the joint. Everything else is going to be hidden, so it doesn't really matter how crude it looks. It just needs to hold together. The whole process of fitting pieces together, even something as simple as this, takes a surprising amount of time, and the video that I have running in the background here is just a small clip to try to drive that point home. At this point in the process, I've already cut all of the mortises in the cover plate, and I've cut all of the tenons into the bottom edges of all of the side plates. So all I'm doing here really is getting everything to fit together. I want everything to fit flush as I can up against the back plate, and I want to get all the finger joints fitted so that they fit together well and they're sitting at 90 degrees to each other. Once I'm happy with the fit, I can go ahead and rivet the side plates to the cover plate and rivet the finger joints together. At that point, I can go ahead and start working on the actual miters for the cove moldings. Here you see the setup that I'm going to be using to cut the miters. I have a square block screwed to the work surface, and I've made a very simple 135-degree gauge. It's just a piece of sheet metal that's bent around a tri-square. And I'm going to be using that to test fit all the miters as I'm filing them to shape. I also have a reference line drawn onto the work surface, and this is to make sure that the cove molding is always sitting at the same angle every time I test fit it. If it rotates a little bit, it changes the shape of the miter, so it's very important to make sure that everything is the same every time you take a measurement. Here I have a short section of pipe that I'm going to be using to support the cove molding while I'm filing the miter. I'm trying to position the molding on the pipe so that the flat face of the miter is sitting level with the top of the pipe. And then by lifting the molding or rotating it on the pipe, I can extend the part that needs to be removed above the surface of the pipe, and then I can file the whole thing back down to the top of the pipe. And to do this, I'm going to be using a larger file that can cover the whole miter. And that's going to allow me to be sure that I have a flat face across that entire mitered surface. The sequence that I used to fit these miters was to file the two side pieces first. These two pieces are extra long. They only have one miter, so I have a lot of room to play, in terms of figuring out the process and getting comfortable with filing the miters that are on the left and the right hand side of the lid. They're both the same angle, of course, that's not the problem, but the angles are opposing each other, so one is going to feel very natural and the other one is going to seem very awkward because it's going to feel backwards to what you naturally want to do. That's the one that's going to take a little more practice because it's really going to feel like you're learning a new skill to get that one right. Once you feel comfortable with the process, you can start working on the front piece. It's going to be the most critical. It's the most visible, and you have no second chances with this one. You can play around a little bit with the first miter because you're still working with the longer piece. But the second miter, you have to be able to dial that in very quickly and without wasting any material, because if you do, that's going to wind up making the piece too short and you're going to have to start over. So what I would recommend is to start with the miter that you don't like, the one that feels awkward, that's backwards to you, and the one that gives you the most trouble. Get that out of the way when you still have a long piece, and then finish up with the side that you like doing. It feels comfortable and you can dial that one in very quickly. That'll give you the best chance of finishing the job without wasting any materials. Because the way you fit the front piece is to get both miters to fit the side pieces exactly, but you're leaving the front piece long by maybe a 1/16 of an inch at the very most. So you have everything fitted up, but it's a little long. You can't actually install it because it's too long. So at that point, you are filing that miter down so that it fits in the space correctly. The angle is right, everything's right. You need to reduce the length of that molding without changing the angle. So on that one, you have to be working in a position that's very comfortable for you, that's very natural, so that you can maintain that angle while you're just shaving away just thousandths of an inch, really, fitting it, trying it out, fitting it until it fits in that space perfectly. At that point, you can start riveting the moldings to the side rails. I'm going to be riveting the moldings along the top edge, and once again I'm just using straight bar rivets that are made from common nails. So whatever fits in that space and you feel comfortable riveting over, just go ahead and use it. I don't want to give any drill sizes for the nails because I've noticed over the years that different manufacturers produce nails in different sizes. So I can tell you what I'm using here, but that may not relate to what you have available. So you really need to figure out the nail that you want to use, measure it exactly, and get the drill that fits that nail. Here I have the cover plate with all the cove moldings riveted in place. The last thing that I did today was to cut the mortises on the back edge of the cover plate. It's a simple molding that's just a bent piece of sheet metal. It gets attached to the cove moldings on the underside, and eventually it's going to get riveted to the cover plate. So I have it ready to go, but I can't install it because it needs to be mitered with the trim pieces that are going to wrap around the top edge of the cover plate. And those trim pieces are also going to give me the rolled edge that I wanted around the front of this box. Hi, I'm Dennis, and thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can contact me by using the email address that I have shown here. If you like the channel and the work that I'm doing, please consider becoming a patron. Every dollar you contribute will bring me one step closer to being able to produce videos full-time.